Hey, good morning. Happy Sunday, everyone. Happy week 4. Um, got a couple of things already coming in already within the past hour or so. So I'll go ahead and talk about it a little bit with once Mike is up and running. But one of the things that jumped out that came in within the past hour is looks like that Deshaun Watson is not going to be playing today. No Deshaun Watson. So they have a rookie quarterback that's going to be starting in his place. And on top of all that, there is the possibility that David Njoku may not play at all as well. Uh, he ended up burning his face or something like that in an accident at his home. He ended up coming in this morning with a mask on, or with a full fledged mask on. So in general, we hope that he's actually okay. But like I said, the bigger story this morning for me is Deshaun Watson not playing at all today, and as well as we figured out yesterday, Jimmy Garoppolo also not playing at all today because of injury, and replacing Jimmy G. And the reason why the Garoppolo news is interesting is because of who the Raiders are actually playing this week, which is one of the worst pass defenses in the league in the Chargers today. And they do have a rookie quarterback, excuse me, starting today, which is Aiden O'Connell. O'Connell, who, if you saw from the preseason, he kind of has a similarity as far as look. He kind of looks like Derek Carr, to be honest. But I'll be very curious to see how he generally plays today. I want to see Josh Jacobs' reaction as far as how he plays, as well as Devontae Adams. Manny picked Devontae Adams earlier this week to be one of the top guys this week in the wide receiver, but we'll see how that all goes if there's no Jimmy G there, even with a soft defense. And again, once again, Deshaun Watson is out today, not playing at all. So you might be scrambling for a couple of players here and there as far as who to replace for Deshaun Watson right off the bat. I was able to personally, because I own Deshaun Watson in a couple of leagues. Right off the bat, I thought about. I saw Matthew Stafford available. I saw Russ Wilson available. C.J. Stroud in some leagues right now. This game right here, it doesn't matter. I would not have picked up Desmond Ritter, but just a couple of players like that is actually available, and even Derek Carr for the Saints. He was actually going to originally not play, but with the AC joint injury. But it looks like in this case he's going to actually end up playing this week. So it's a little bit scary for everyone on the Saints. So just be a little bit cautionary as far as who you start this week if you have Derek Carr on your team. Jimmy G, like I said, was a player that I was looking forward to this week, since he's been getting a little bit better. But as of right now, it looks like that's out of the picture in general. Also, I'm looking at just saw a blurb not too long ago, or a tweet from Barstool. Looks like that it looks like there's going to be an increase in snaps and play for Ezekiel Elliott. So it's going to be kind of interesting as far as what they do. I believe they play against the Bills this week. They do not play against the Bills. They don't play against the Bills, so that's on me. But yeah, regardless, Ezekiel Elliott is going to get more play this week. So it goes back for, as far as Ramondre Stevenson, he's going back to like the 50-50 that he was kind of used to. But it's actually kind of interesting to see that Ezekiel is going to get a little bit more play this week. Is Tutu Atwell a thing now? Just for this week. If there's going to be any other time that it's going to happen, it's going to be this week, one more week, because of the fact that Cooper Kupp is coming back next week, as long as he's healthy, of course. Puka Nacua, of course, he's going to, once Cooper comes back, Puka is going to be a really solid number 2 for the Rams, and I still don't see, even though people keep on pushing Kyren Williams for for their running back, it's hard for me to believe that with Matthew Stafford plus the type of receiver that Puka is and Cooper is, I can't see it enough to not see him pass that much. So or or run that or do the run that much. So I'm a kind of a big believer in Matthew Stafford this week, as well as next week. Next week they play Philly. This week they play. Who do you play this week, Rams? You play. You play the Colts. So Colts not really the biggest or the best or baddest defense in the past game. So I can actually see myself playing Stafford for the next 2 weeks. Like I said, Deshaun Watson is already out, and it would be kind of interesting to see how the Ravens defense actually, or how the Ravens offense actually goes um, against the Browns. The Browns have been actually one of the better defenses in the league this year so far. Cleveland, I believe they've only allowed one offensive touchdown so far this year, and some people are kind of determined to play the defense of the Browns, but we'll go ahead and generally see when they actually have someone like Lamar Jackson up and running. For right now, I'm just looking at a couple other players here, just as you can see on the bottom: Miles Sanders, Deebo Samuel, Derek Carr, Marquise Brown, Tyler Higbee, Justice Hill. They're all playing. Cordell Patterson doesn't really matter. No, Cordell. I mean, he's in this game now, and I don't think that he's really doing that much. And to answer the next question, no, I am not going to show the Toy Story version of this game because I am an adult. Let's keep it that way. Um, let's see who else we have here. Like I said, Saints and Buccaneers. Derek Carr is planning to play today. The Buccaneers is actually doing surprisingly acceptable, not great, but acceptable this year so far. I still have a belief that Baker Mayfield is an acceptable streaming quarterback for the next couple of weeks. Derek Carr, same thing. If you can actually be able to catch him, and this week is actually the debut this year for Alvin Kamara, who comes back from a 3-game suspension for beating the hell out of somebody out here in Vegas, or at least orchestrating it. Dolphins Bills we kind of touched about. So the curiosity about this game is how the reaction is going to be with the Dolphins after scoring so many damn points, after scoring 70 last week against the worst team of the league, allegedly, the Denver Broncos. There was a funny tweet that I actually saw that ended up that had a Bills official talk to them about the game in general, and the Buffalo Bills official ended up saying, "Well, I hope we can do our best to keep them under 70 points." That made me chuckle a little bit. That was my morning this morning. Devon A-Chain, definitely expect to give him some more run, but it should be more a little bit kind of similar to what Zeke and Stevenson is going to be doing. It's going to be more on the 50-50 level compared to like a 60-40 or a 65-35, in my opinion. So also got the battle of Caleb Williams is what someone wrote this about, with the Broncos going against the Bears this week. I'm actually a little bit high on the Denver defense this week. I know some people aren't going to like that, but then again, Justin Fields does have the availability to make anything happen on the field. So there is the possibility that Justin Fields can actually do something decent this week, even if it's against the Broncos. But I'm very curious to see how they end up playing in that one. So if you guys feel that Caleb Williams is going to be going or belonging to the loser of this team, please let me know that, because I would love to see that. And Caleb might not be a fan of it, but hey, get your money. Philadelphia Eagles versus the Commanders. I've been seeing for the past couple of weeks, with the exception of the game yesterday against or last week against the Buffalo Bills. Um, the Commanders are okay. They're average. They're like that. They're like every player that you have fantasy wise on that team is like you could practically put him in as a flex regardless. Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Brian Robinson Jr. and even in a second two quarterback league, I would even consider putting in Sam Howell in there. He does have a decent rushing upside, and if they're playing against a division rival in the Eagles, I could definitely see that there could be this could be a little bit more fast paced as well as high scoring at the same time. So that's generally what I'm seeing from here. Steelers and Texans. Texans, I Texas have been slowly starting to get fantasy relevant because of the fact of how many passes players like CJ Stroud has been given, as well as what Nico Collins has been doing, as well as Tank Dell. Like a lot of us, at least acknowledge that. The only thing that we can acknowledge, as of right now anyway, is Damian Pierce and his usage. I'm kind of concerned about that, mainly because with Damian Pierce being with Damian Pierce only not even having 100 yards rushing yet for the year, and this is the fourth game of the season. Like it's starting to kind of get a little bit disturbing. So because of that, um, Devin Singletary has been vulturing a couple of his rush attempts as well as his play overall. So kind of concerned about Damian Pierce, but on the other side of the ball, Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm still a little bit adamant on the Jalen Warren side. Warren's going to still probably end up being more of a vulture for Najee Harris in the long run. So I could generally see Jalen Warren being an acceptable flex. Raiders and Chargers. We already talked about that a little bit earlier. Chargers are going to be playing against the Raiders team that doesn't have, well, first of all, they don't have Chandler Jones because he's been released, and they also don't have Jimmy Garoppolo this week as he's out with injuries. So Aiden O'Connell, who's a Derek Carr lookalike, is going to be starting. He did okay during the preseason, but I'm really curious to see how everything looks for one of the worst pass defenses in the Chargers. So very curious to see if whether or not they can actually do something well. The afternoon games, there's only 3 of them. So that Raiders game was one of them. The second one is going to be Cardinals and 49ers. 49ers, look, no offense to both of my co-hosts, to Mike and Manny, but the Niners are going to show you how to beat the Arizona Cardinals. And not only we're going to do that, we're going to do that twice since we play them twice. So this week you get to see the preview of what we plan to do for you guys next week. Not really much to talk about with the Arizona Cardinals, if you want to be perfectly honest on that side. Josh Dobbs, keep doing your thing. James Conner is pretty much the engine for that entire offense. Marquise Brown, who was a little bit on the hurt side, actually is expected to play today, but I'm very curious to see how much run he actually gets throughout through today. Patriots and Cowboys. We kind of already talked about this in a sense. I guess you can call this a revenge game for Ezekiel Elliott playing against the Cowboys in Dallas. And if there's anybody that knows anything about Dallas, it's definitely going to be Ezekiel Elliott, as well as this guy right here. Thesis, good morning.
Hey, good morning, my man. Sorry, but you know how Sunday works. But I'm here.
I'm starting to get the feel that that's how it's going to be on Sunday. But that's okay.
just a little bit. Yeah.
But we kind of went over just a few things already as far as well, at least I did by myself. I was so lonely. Anyway, ended up talking about a couple of couple players that are already out. I was scrambling this morning for Deshaun Watson being out. You know how I have him in a few leagues myself. He's going to be out today. I talked about a couple of replacements available, and I talked about this as a sneak play anyway for preparing for Week 5. But I already had Matthew Stafford on a couple of my leagues already, so I'm plopping him in against one of the worst pass defenses in the league. Russ Wilson playing against the world famous Chicago Bears in the battle of 0 and 3s. CJ Stroud somehow, some way is still available for some leagues. And actually, let me get your opinion on that. As far as, is there anybody else um, that you would look at as far as not starting or starting today in replacement for Deshaun Watson? Is there anyone that jumps out?
Let me think. So there's a couple candidates who possibly could jump out, but these are going to be people who might not be on your waiver list. But these are people who I like. I don't know if these people are all going to be possible to be picked up though. You know what I mean?
Of course.
But yeah, but let's say that you're. I kind of like Kenny Pickett against Houston.
Interesting.
I
Okay.
like Kenny Pickett against Houston. I feel like Houston usually plays from behind, while their pass rank defense isn't terrible. I do feel like Kenny Pickett is kind of an interesting play, and I feel like he can do some damage against Houston, especially with the receivers that he has.
Mhm.
Um, Beyond that, I kind of like Ryan Tannehill against Cincinnati, and I'm not a Ryan Tannehill guy, but Cincinnati's pass defense hasn't been that great this year. So I would say those would probably be my two picks. I would go with Ryan Tannehill against Cincinnati, or possibly Kenny Pickett against Pittsburgh. It's kind of a feeling about those two guys today. I think they could be serviceable if you're looking for a replacement, or you can always decide to go with Dorian, the backup. And he did look good in preseason, but that's a very risky play if you want to pick him up.
Very, very much so. Can you give me any kind of information about? We talked. The second person I talked about, as far as being out for sure, is Jimmy Garoppolo. And you guys, and you over from the previous show, you saw how much I was touting Jimmy Garoppolo as far as actually starting to slowly get a stride. But also remember, Manny picked Devontae Adams as one of the best wide receivers for this week. So he doesn't have his guy. He originally didn't have. He doesn't have Derek Carr anymore. Now he doesn't have Jimmy Garoppolo. So we're going with a fourth. So they're going with a fourth round pick in Aiden O'Connell. Um, who the only thing I really have on him, he just only looks like Derek Carr. Like he physically looks like Derek Carr. Plus he has Derek Carr's old jersey number in number 4 for the Raiders. So is there anything? Is there any positivity? They're playing against one of the worst passing teams, pass rushing or pass defenses in the league in the Chargers. Is there? Can you give the fans, specifically RJ in this case, any kind of hope for Aiden this week?
Well, the fans I know are kind of excited about seeing what Aiden has to offer because they haven't really been too. I mean, I know you did say that you like what Jimmy's done, but Raider fans are tough out here, and they, they still miss Carr. So Jimmy hasn't really gotten the red carpet welcome that he probably thought he would get. As far as Aiden Connell is concerned, I just don't know. I do remember him playing at Purdue. I do remember him being a pretty decent quarterback in college.
Mhm.
He looked okay in the preseason. He did. He
Yeah.
did look okay in the preseason. He had some games that kind of caught your eye. But I wouldn't start him from a fantasy perspective, not today, unless you're just really, really desperate. But
Yeah.
I do think that Aiden O'Connell, he has pieces. I mean, he has Devontae Adams. That's definitely going to be helpful for him. I would probably downgrade Devontae, excuse me. I'd probably downgrade Devontae Adams just a slight bit this week, even though that's a hard thing to do because it seems like no matter who's back there throwing the ball, he's
Mhm.
catching it, he's getting targets, and he's scoring. But I'd say I'd probably downgrade him slightly. But as far as Aiden O'Connell is concerned, just don't know enough about the guy really to be too positive or too negative. I guess we'll see today what he does.
We kind of don't have a choice, and not only that, Jimmy G's only probably going to be out for just this week only. So if you desperately need the quarterback and you feel that he can do it against the worst pass defense in the league, then this is your time to show your prowess. Your chance to see, all right, I'm much better than everyone here on Next Up Fantasy. This is your chance.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
Flex on them.
exactly. There was someone else. Okay, Derek Carr. So Derek Carr, he is going to be playing, but he has an AC joint injury. So this is a little bit concerning on my side. So they are playing against the Buccaneers. Thankfully, at least the Saints are at home. Like with the AC joint injury, do you feel that Derek Carr can somewhat be a little bit relevant, or can he play well enough to be a fantasy acceptable for this week?
I'm holding off on Derek Carr. Just kind of want to see what the injury looks like, how he performs, what's going on with that team exactly. He wasn't really lighting up the world before the injury,
Mhm.
so I'm gonna probably be a little hesitant with my evaluation on Derek Carr. I'd say if you have somebody else who's serviceable, might want to fire them up this week. Completely depends on who you have on your roster in fantasy. I know some fantasy owners don't really believe in carrying a backup quarterback. So if you're one of those kind of managers who don't believe in carrying a backup quarterback, you don't have any backups to play, you can put him out there. But I'd be a little tentative. I probably would go in a different direction just for this week until we can kind of see, what that injury or how the injury has derailed him and what he looks like. Just my opinion.
If you're extremely, extremely, extremely desperate, this is the desperate bowl right here for quarterbacks. If you are one of those players that actually just so happen to be starting Derek Carr, would you put him in instead or would you play him, or would you play Aiden O'Connell?
I'd play Carr. I'd play
So
Carr over Aiden O'Connell. Just like I said, I don't know enough about Aiden, and I could be completely wrong. I mean, that's sometimes those kind of guys go off for 40 or 35, and you're like, where'd this guy come from? Should have took that chance, right? But I'm going with Carr over Aiden O'Connell. How do you feel about that? You going with Aiden?
I would give him a chance, and the only reason for that is because of the fact that who they're playing against. Once again, they're playing against the Chargers. So my feel is that it's going to be kind of a high scoring game. Let's see where they're actually at for looking at their. I'm looking for their over under. Do, 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 do. They're at 40. They're at 48 and a half right now, from what I see. So that 48 is pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
So if they could do that without Jimmy Garoppolo, that would actually be kind of interesting. But that also could mean that there could be more play for the running backs. So that being said, Josh Jacobs could have a little bit more run, no pun intended, and even to the extent maybe even a very desperate move for maybe getting in Zamir White, which I thought that was always more talented than Josh Jacobs. Hot take. Um, I want to talk about your boy for a second because I did talk about him a little bit earlier. Um, Read a report earlier this morning pretty much saying that Ezekiel Elliott is going to get more run this week um, after having a pretty acceptable performance last week. And this week they're playing against your boys, the Cowboys. So this is going to be a fun one. I want your full 100% thoughts on how you feel that Ezekiel Elliott could do versus his former team in a possible revenge game.
Well, here we go. The Dallas defense is very stout. We all know that, but they have been susceptible to runs down the middle. I know last week when they were playing Arizona, James Conner in the first half at least was pretty much able to do whatever he wanted to do.
Yeah.
Now the defense did shore that up in the second half, kind of made some corrections to limit him,
Mhm.
but that's kind of the way that Zeke runs. So it wouldn't be too surprising for me to see Zeke come out here and have a successful day. Now, what would that translate into, right? I'm not expecting Zeke to have like over 100 yards or anything like that, but I could definitely see Zeke scoring a touchdown, perhaps two, if he's in the right situation. And I can definitely see him having potentially anywhere between like 60 to 70 yards on the ground. I think would be a really productive day for Zeke. As far as the Ramondre Stevenson thing goes, I mean, yeah, man, Zeke's got to eat. So it doesn't surprise me, but it does surprise me in a way. I think that Bill Belichick is kind of like we're talking about the 49ers old way they used to use running backs with Mike McDaniel. I think Bill Belichick's kind of like that. I think whatever he feels will be better against a certain team is kind of how he's going to use these guys. So some games might be more Zeke, some games might be more Ramondre. It's probably just going to be like that all year. But like I said, our run defense isn't the greatest up the middle, so Zeke has a chance to do a couple things, and I'm sure he'll be motivated.
Do you feel that this is going to be a move that's going to be happening going forward with the Cowboys, or excuse me, with the Patriots, as far as them being more on the 50-50 level?
Yeah, I think it'll be like that all year. And I don't necessarily think it'll be 50-50. I think Ramondre Stevenson will still get the majority of the carries most of the time. But I do think there will be some games where script kind of has it to where Zeke is more heavily deployed than Ramondre Stevenson. So that's one reason why I wasn't really big on getting Ramondre, just because, I try to stay away from the timeshares in the backfield. I say that as a Gibbs owner, but I try to stay away from that if I can, for the most part. So yeah, I think it'll depend on what Bill wants to do. Because Bill doesn't give a damn about our fantasy teams. So
I'm creating a pretty nice short about your rant with Jahmyr Gibbs. So hopefully I can get that out later today.
No doubt.
That was fun just to listen to over and over again, just to try to get some spots on it. So if you haven't seen that, go ahead and check out our latest episode, week 4, where
came from the heart.
He just does it for all the Jahmyr Gibbs owners, and it was so great. I loved it. Unless you're Dan Campbell, don't listen to it unless you're if you're Dan Campbell. So Broncos and Bears. We somewhat talked about it. Like, do you think that actually got to? Okay, actually got a question here on the side. Do you think Jonathan Taylor will play again for the Colts? This will actually be the last week for Zach Moss to fully 100% shine with the backfield on his own. But after next week, it's going to be the return of Taylor. But do you feel that Taylor is going to play for the Colts at all, or do you feel that this is the Zach Moss show?
Me personally, it's tough because I really want it to be the Zach Moss show. I am too a concerned Moss owner, and I love what he's doing, and I just want them to just let Taylor go away so Moss can shine.
That's not easy,
But I really don't know. If Taylor really feels disrespected to the point to where he does not want to play, then I guess they can't force the guy to play, but you rarely ever see that happen. These guys always talk about, I'm not going to sign this, I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to report to Cam, I'm not going to do whatever. And then when you start missing those game checks, it gets real. So I think that Jonathan Taylor will probably in some capacity play for the Colts this year, which will suck if you're a Moss owner, because when he comes back, Moss won't be getting the volume that he's getting right now. But I'm just hoping that they find some kind of a team who's desperate enough to trade for Jonathan Taylor, because I think that Zach Moss can carry the load on his own. I don't think they necessarily need – now, he's not Jonathan Taylor, but I don't think that they need Jonathan Taylor necessarily, and they could maybe pivot him or move him in a package to get something. I think that would be most beneficial for both parties. But it wouldn't surprise me to see him coming back. So, unfortunately, I do think that Jonathan Taylor will play again for the Colts.
Moss did what I'm thinking about is, if Taylor does play, how does Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor coexist? Moss did get traded in the middle of the season last year. So with good old NFL Plus here, I'll have the availability to take a look at some of the games last year to see how they played together. So I'll be curious to see that, and I'll give my answer to that as far as how relevant Jonathan Taylor will be for both the sake of Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss owners.
There could definitely be a rust factor. And if you remember last year, Jonathan Taylor wasn't like the old Jonathan Taylor. He kind of had a down year. So I'm not saying that he's not the same guy, but I could see them kind of splitting carries initially, just because, the rust factor, he hasn't played all year. And Zach Moss has looked good. So why not use another weapon if you have another weapon? But,
Taylor ended up, if I recall, Taylor ended up being injured to the point where he didn't play for the remainder of the season, or at least a good chunk of the season.
Yeah.
That was the only reason why I won our bet between JT and Christian McCaffrey. That was the only reason. Otherwise it would have been 50-50. So actually, speaking of a running back that's actually coming back, Alvin Kamara comes back today.
Welcome back, Alvin.
Alvin Kamara comes back from beating the hell out of somebody over here in Vegas during Pro Bowl last year to actually be in the starting lineup. So, like, do you feel like, so now that I thought about it, like, does this help Derek Carr in any way as far as like lightening the load for the Saints?
Most definitely. I mean, most definitely helps. They've been running back starved all year. I mean, Jamal Williams, he's been hurt as well. So, yeah, Derek can take all the help and can use all the help that he needs. And Alvin Kamara is a great back, great receiver out of the backfield, great running back when he has the chance to do so. So, yeah, I think that'll definitely help Derek Carr. But like I said, when these guys have had a long time off, it's just easing them back in, and the propensity or the fact that they could be a little rusty because, when you're not playing, you're not playing. But no, anytime you get Alvin Kamara back in that backfield, I think it'll definitely help the Saints and will be beneficial for Derek Carr for sure.
So very fun stat that'll be for
not a top 10 running back though in my rankings this week, but
not this week.
Yeah.
If anything, wait for the fantasy playoffs. I think he's going to actually strive during that because they have such a good schedule.
Yeah.
Saw a fun stat just right now since we're talking about or since the game is on right now with the Atlanta Falcons and the Jaguars. So I hope our boy Mr. Atlanta's on here, or at least going to be watching this. Yeah, Atlanta scored 13 points in the last 7 quarters. That's hellaciously low.
You leave that man alone.
I will never leave him. No, you know what? No. I will. Okay, I'll leave him alone every couple of weeks. How about that?
How's Bijan doing?
Bijan's solid. I think last time I saw Bijan had at least 4 or 5 catches. He had about 70 yards, but that was the last time that I was actually paying attention over here. So I wish I was a Bijan owner.
I know the one league I have him, he had 10 points, and there was 13 minutes left to go in the third quarter. So I was like, all right, I'll take that. So yeah,
he'll be fine.
Yeah.
He's totally fine. Let me see if I can find him real quick.
That's their one bright spot. I'm just trying to help out this Atlanta guy because even though you came and you kind of shitted on us a little bit, still love, man. Still a silver lining. Still a silver lining in that cloud.
Look,
he is definitely on ATL.
There's nothing wrong with Atlanta. There's nothing.
Sorry.
Look, absolutely nothing wrong with Bijan Robinson. But we had questions about Desmond. We had questions about Desmond Ridder as far as how he was going to end up playing or whatnot. He already thrown 2 interceptions, and that was before the first half was over. So
yeah,
curious to see how it is. And right now I see him on a full point PPR. Bijan Robinson's doing 17 points, so he's fine.
Yeah, I think Desmond Ridder would be a really good backup quarterback if given the time to learn a playbook and really get with it. But I never saw him as that guy. So anytime you have Desmond Ridder back there, it's going to be tough. He just, I don't know. He wasn't really one of my favorite quarterbacks picked that year. Let's just say that. I remember when he played at Cincinnati with the Bearcats, they were cool, and he was a gamer. I'd say that he's a gamer, but he's not really somebody who I think is going to be able to take them where they want to go. I think they're going to have to get another quarterback at some point, but
give me someone. Okay, so we're about at the 10 minute mark right now, as far as 10 minutes left before we get off. Give me a survivor pool pick. Give me two or just 2. I'll say 2.
Man, I don't do these survivor pool things, but I'm gonna give them to you anyway. So now this is just let me make sure I'm understanding this before I do it. So I'm trying to pick teams that haven't been picked yet, right? Because
we can go with that concept. Who would you pick last week?
And certain teams could have been picked. I don't know. That's the only part about this where I'm like, all right.
Okay. So how about this?
I
How about
got
this for for the people who've never watched this show before,
you.
and that's a lot of people. I'm not gonna lie, but um, just simply though, just give me someone, just any teams, because like any team you want, it
Got you.
doesn't matter if you pick them or not.
Got you. Points in the point spread or nothing of that matters, right?
No, point spread doesn't matter.
To win.
Yeah, to win.
Oh. Well, this sounds crazy for me being a Cowboy fan, as you can see. But go ahead and give me the 49ers over the Cardinals. They shouldn't lose that game. No way they beat the Cowboys and the 49ers back-to-back weeks. So give me
I thought the little mess before you jumped on, but it's okay. Go ahead.
No doubt, no doubt. As we deserve it. We deserve it. So yeah, I would go ahead and pick 49ers over the Cardinals. Because like I said, it would be inconceivable for me to think that they could beat the Dallas and the 49ers in back-to-back weeks. So that's my pick for Survivor Pool. What you got, Will?
I want to try to do something a little tricky. I want to pick someone that maybe a little bit unexpected. And actually, you know what? That's what I'm gonna go with. I'm not sure how bold this one is, but I'm gonna say Texans over the Steelers.
Ooh, that's kind of bold.
I'm like it, Manny.
I can't pick.
Nerd's supposed to be on our this nerd's supposed to be on our whatchamacallit. Supposed to be on here, but you know what? Okay, it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I'll pick the Texans over the Steelers. They're slowly coming up, and if it's to the point where they keep on using if they keep using the pass game as well as they have, like stat wise, then like it's going to eventually turn over into a celebration. So maybe the Texans could beat them as bad as the 49ers did in week 1. So that's my thought. I mean, you guys, look, all right. So Mike Lou and Manny are both in the chat at the same time. One of them might have left already. I don't know. But
Mike got words.
Manny's picking the Vikings right now. For survivors, they're picking the Vikings, or they're picking Kansas City. But Mike Lou, if you recall, before the season started, there was a trade between those two. Between those two, as far as what was it, Justin Fields and James Cook goes to Manny, and Manny gives Josh Allen over to Mike. So you guys can go ahead and just battle in the chat all day today if you want to do that, and just from there, keep talking back and forth to see how you guys feel about that trade.
I would have held on to Josh Allen. I'm not gonna lie, but it's okay.
Right now, it's kind of look. I would have held on to him too. But I got the reasons for both sides as far as why they did the trade. James Cook, I think is going to get a little bit better in the next couple of weeks. He'll have more of a grasp of the backfield. No Damian Harris, no Latavius Murray. Hopefully we can see James Cook in the 70th percentile as far as carries and rush attempts or whatnot. Then James Cook is going to be fine. Let's see, Justin. But Justin Fields on the other hand. All right, look. So let me ask you about the 0-3 battle. Like, does the winner or does the loser of this team, if they end up tanking, does the loser get Caleb Williams?
Or does the loser get Michael Penix Jr.? I like that kid too. But not Caleb. Caleb will probably be the number one. I do like Michael Penix, but I like them both. I like a lot of quarterbacks this year. It's gonna be a great draft. My boy, honorable mention, my boy Quinn Ewers, keep getting it done for Texas, man. We're doing great. But yeah, does the loser get Caleb Williams? The loser definitely needs him. The loser definitely needs him. The one thing though is like with the Bears, who was the last quarterback that they've drafted who has been successful? Like, let's take this.
That they drafted?
Yeah, or just almost want to just say period, but who's the last quarterback they've drafted who's been successful?
I couldn't even name that. Me
neither. I mean, I guess
and it has to be a homegrown talent, but I can't think of anyone on top of my head because there's been others that they just haven't drafted. They didn't draft Jay Cutler. They didn't draft Who the hell else has been there?
Did they draft Kyle Orton? He was all right for like a year or two.
Orton was okay. He wasn't great. He was okay. He was okay.
Yeah, it was okay. They drafted Trubisky. They could have had Mahomes. They picked Trubisky. So
they did get Trubisky. Yeah.
you know, so for me, it's kind of like I've never really seen anyone be successful there. So I don't know how much I can really put it on Justin Fields. It's just kind of one of those weird situations where it's like they've never really had a decent quarterback, and I don't know if it's because the way they run their team or what it is, but it's hard for me to blame Justin Fields for doing what I haven't ever seen anyone else do since probably Jim McMahon. so it's so I don't know. I know Justin Fields is talented. I know that, but I don't know why he can't get it going. So it's tough, man. So that's how I feel about him. On the other side, you have Russell Wilson, right?
Right.
If they lose, then they definitely need to be tanking to get Caleb Wilson. I think Russ might be washed. I think Russ could be washed at this point. And not washed from the point of he can't play football anymore. No, he can still play. But as far as being what he used to be, I don't know if we still have that guy.
I had so much high hopes for Russ Wilson when he got traded there last year, and as well as this year. I thought Sean Payton would mix it up a little, just a little bit. But like, just like you talked about earlier this week, that massacre of getting 70 dropped on you as a professional team, like, and it wasn't even your best. It wasn't even their best way that they score. Like that was all rushing. It's kind of ridiculous. So like, whoever loses, I mean, Godspeed. I mean, you're going to be 0-4 after this.
Yeah.
After this week, and no telling if you even come back to that.
I mean, when we were talking about that, I was kind of being tongue in cheek about it. Like I was kind of trolling the Broncos. Like the Bears should be a worse team. If you want me to just be honest with you, the Bears should be worse, right? I feel like the Broncos have more pieces than the Bears. The Bears should be worse. But after a performance like that, I just don't feel like those guys have heart. So I feel like they're the worst team. And that was kind of the point I was trying to make. So we will find out today. It'll be funny. That's kind of our bet, I guess, our little next up fantasy bet. I know Manny and Will picked the Bears being the worst team. I picked the Broncos. So whoever loses today will be the worst team in our opinion, probably. Sprinkled in with Carolina. But
Wow.
yeah, we're gonna find out today what's gonna happen. It should be fun. But yeah, man, either of those teams honestly could probably benefit from having a player like Caleb Williams, but I don't want Caleb Williams to go to Chicago because I don't feel like Chicago ever gets it right. And I feel like if he goes there, for something will happen and he'll end up being trash too. So I would rather the Broncos lose than, I guess, because I feel like he'd be more successful with Sean Payton in Denver than he would be with the Bears in Chicago. I don't want him going there.
It kind of seems like anyone but Russ right now will be more successful with Sean Payton.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a shame. What was I about to say? Okay. Wanted to do a quick breaking news. This has absolutely nothing to do with football, but it has to do with basketball. Okay, so you guys know about the Dame Lillard trade.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys know that Drew Holiday was part of that trade.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Holiday now just got traded to the Boston Celtics.
Okay.
And Drew Holiday to the Celtics for I didn't see him for Robert Williams. Who's one hell of a center. Malcolm Brogdon.
What?
And 2 first-round picks.
For Drew?
For Drew.
I like Drew, but I don't know if I'd have gave up all that.
I would not have given up all that. Like,
no way.
Like Time Lord is a monster and as a center, and Malcolm Brogdon was a rookie of the year.
Why do people keep disrespecting Malcolm Brogdon? Like whenever Malcolm Brogdon gets a chance to perform, he performs great. Like you said, Robert Williams is a beast. That's a lot to give up for Drew Holiday. I know the Mavericks. I'm a Maverick fan. I know the Mavericks are trying to get Drew Holiday or were interested in Drew Holiday as well. But my goodness, after seeing that package, no wonder we probably passed on that. Like, nah, y'all can't have all that. So that is crazy. I have no idea what Boston is doing. Mike Lewis, good question. What are they doing? I have no idea. But I would have loved to have squeezed Robert. Anyway, the center and Brogdon off them dudes for Drew Holiday. That's crazy. I definitely think that they lost that trade. We'll see.
Now I'm looking at give me just a sec. I'm going to look this up real quick. I want to see what the starting lineup kind of looks like now. Because remember, they also
they have Porzingis, so maybe they feel like they don't need Robert.
They traded for Porzingis.
Yeah, so they might feel like they don't need Robert Williams anymore.
I call cap on that. They kind of need him.
I feel that. And you got to remember, they also gave us Grant Williams.
Right. So no Marcus Smart.
Nope.
Marcus Smart isn't there anymore. So it's Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, Porzingis, Drew Holiday.
I don't know if I like that. I'm not a Celtics fan though, so I don't know if I like that.
It's kind of not enough. Like, so does that mean that Brown goes to the 2 now? Like, and Drew Holiday is going to be the point?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the way they're going to have to do it, right? Because I mean, what other point guard do they have on that roster? They let Smart go. They let Brogdon go. No one else can run point, really. I mean, do they still have who's the backup point guard?
Peyton Pritchard.
Pritchard, right? That's what I wanted to say. Pritchard's decent.
He's actually okay. So like, I'm not sure if he can. I'm not sure if he could run a full 30 minutes or 35 minutes.
Manny hit me up with the Kristaps doesn't play center. It's kind of positionless now, basketball. A lot of guys don't play center who they have playing center. Christian Woods didn't play center last year for us, but we had him playing center. So I know what you mean, Manny. But I think they're going to probably try to run a centerless 5, honestly. And one thing Kristaps does do is he's a decent rim protector. So even though he doesn't play center, he will challenge shots. He'll go up there and try to block some shots. He has a lengthy frame. He's long. So I'm assuming that's what they're trying to do. But I really don't know what Boston's doing.
And you said Christian Wood played. He wasn't a center with you guys.
Christian Woods isn't a true center, but we used him in the center position sometimes. Well, I mean, we used Dwight Powell in the center position, and he's for sure ain't a true center. True. So basketball is just kind of positionless now in a weird way. Well, you guys know that, but in a weird way. So, but I like the traditional centers, 7-foot dudes you put back there, but a lot of teams don't use that anymore. Everything's so spaced out. But
it's okay. We'll Christian Wood is a Laker now. We'll make sure that he does not be treated as a center. I mean, actually, no. He actually may be good for a center.
Yeah.
He actually may be acceptable as a center. And
Mike Lou
is what we considered it. We were thinking about it.
We were. You guys know I coach basketball now, so I would love that'd be right up my alley. I love it. Yeah. Next up, basketball. Next up, wrestling. And we got so many different avenues we can go
into. Next up, hoops. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Part of the Next Up Nation. You guys want to get in? Let me know. Let's get it. But yeah. So our time is up over here. Actually, Manny, if you're still here, throw me something for the Next Up parlay. Give me someone to sports bet on. And
I got a 3-team parlay I could give you.
By all means.
I mean, since I really don't do the betting, so take this with a grain of salt, y'all. If you lose, don't blame me. But let me see. I was looking at it earlier. Let me see if I can do it before Manny. And I saw a couple things that I think stood out to me. This is my opinion. Like I said, please don't bet these. But if you do and you win, then I don't even need any kind of
any kind of thing.
I love just do this at your own peril and risk.
Just all of these work. Go ahead.
But I do like the Bengals over the Titans. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take the -2.5.
Okay.
I think they can get that done. I also like the Vikings over the Panthers at the -4.5.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the Ravens now with this new information we've gotten. I like the Ravens over the Browns. I take them at +1.5. That'd be my parlay, my little something I'm gonna throw out there for y'all.
Okay, all right. And next up, NASCAR. I'm not sure about NASCAR, but I've been slowly getting interested in F1. My nephew slowly got into F1, like just because he's just into cars and all that. But like, I don't know. That plus F1 is coming out here next month. So
can we do the next up slap fest? What's the thing that they call the slap? I want to do next up that.
Oh, the one where like
just a little slap thing they're doing nowadays.
Wow,
yeah. I'm all for that.
SmackDown. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
So my couple that I'm gonna pick up is no, never hockey, but we're still Golden Knight fans. So I'm gonna say Vikings -4.5. I'm gonna say against the Panthers. I'm going to say the Commanders +9.5 over the Eagles. And man, that's terrible. Did you see that the 49ers is -14.5 against
I did.
the Cardinals? That is ridiculous. No one deserves that.
I might actually pick Arizona with those odds, but they won't win the game for sure.
But right. And I would go Chargers 4.5 for against the Raiders. Actually, you know what? No, scratch that. Scratch the Chargers. Let me go back to which team was it? Which team was it? Actually, I'm gonna make it juicy. I'm gonna say that same game, but Raiders +4.5.
Okay.
I'm gonna make that very interesting. I'm gonna bet a little chips on Aiden O'Connell this week. I want to see what he does, and if the Raiders just lose by only a field goal, then so be it. So there you go. So that's gonna be our show for today. We ran a little bit further than we usually do. Well, Mike Lou, let's wait until they get combined first, and then see who they're going to be known as, and then we'll do next up US XFL.
Are they merging? Are they merging?
They've been in talks about merging.
They should. That'd be dope.
Yeah, they kind of should. I mean, it's our springtime relief as far as having some kind of football in our lives, and like XFL wasn't that bad last year. Just in people watching. So
yeah, and you can find players there. I mean, the Cowboys, we found Kevontae Turpin in the USFL. So they do have some guys out there who haven't made NFL rosters but are talented enough to play. So I enjoy the USFL and the XFL. That's something to do in the spring, like you said. So I enjoy that.
And just like you said, it's fun to see some talent there. So all right, so we all got lineups to take care of. Maybe I'll put in one of the parlays that we just talked about. But that being said, everyone, thank you guys for watching. Everyone who hopped in, hopped out. Thank you for all the battles and the suggestions of what we should be doing on Next Up in the future. Like I said, Next Up Nation, we're here for it. So let's go. So for Mike, it's your boy Will. Get your lineup set, and we'll talk to you guys. We'll talk to you guys later. See you guys next week. Bye.
Peace, guys.